James Charles is once again making headlines, and this time, his latest response has everyone talking. What happened, and why are fans so divided? Since 2021, James Charles, a prominent player in the beauty and influencer community, has been at the heart of controversy, and recent events have only served to exacerbate his standing in the public eye and the professional world. The backlash has grown, with new claims and renewed criticism continuing to emerge, even though he has apologized publicly on multiple occasions and made unsuccessful attempts to rehabilitate his brand. I will now provide a comprehensive analysis of the ongoing problem, his reactions, and the ramifications for his professional career. But how did a top-tier beauty mogul fall from grace so quickly? And can he ever truly bounce back? An overview of the controversy's beginnings. At the beginning of 2021, several individuals came forward with allegations that James Charles, a beauty influencer, had engaged in inappropriate and sexually suggestive conversations with teenage fans. This was the incident that caused the controversy surrounding James Charles to begin making news. The graphic nature of the texts involved, in addition to the vast and impressionable audience that Charles has, which includes a significant number of people who are themselves minors, made these charges particularly disturbing. Charles was under a great deal of pressure from the general public to address the problem as the allegations gained traction on the internet. It was a crucial turning point in the crisis when he published a video with the title "Holding Myself Accountable," which was his response to the incident. Within the video, Charles admitted that he had engaged in inappropriate talks with two boys who were 16 years old. He said that he had been misled about the ages of the lads they were talking to. On the other hand, he acknowledged that it was his obligation to verify the age of everyone he interacted with in such a manner, and he accepted full responsibility for the situation. He said it with a tone that was emotive and conveyed a mixture of regret and embarrassment. "There is no excuse for it," he made the statement. However, even though his apologies appeared to be genuine, some felt that the video only served to raise more worries than it managed to alleviate. Could this initial misstep have been the point of no return for James Charles, or was it just the beginning of something deeper unraveling? Consequences for your career and the corporation. The controversy had immediate and far-reaching consequences, which had an immediate impact on. As the level of public outcry increased, James Charles's career, which had been flourishing until that point, gradually began to fall apart. Fans voiced their dissatisfaction, other influencers distanced themselves from the situation, and the beauty community turned a critical eye on the industry's tolerance for wrongdoing. One of the most significant blows came from Morphe, the cosmetics behemoth instrumental in Charles's ascent to popularity. Morphe had been a major contributor to Charles's success. Their collaboration has resulted in the creation of makeup collections that have earned millions of dollars in income. However, in response to the allegations, Morphe published a public statement announcing the termination of their partnership. In the statement, they emphasized their dedication to creating an environment that is secure and welcoming for all customers. Shockwaves were thrown through the influencer economy as a result of the move, which was interpreted as a significant disavowal. Additionally, YouTube, which is Charles' principal platform, took quick action in addition to the losses sustained by the company. This action was not only detrimental to the creator's financial situation, but it also served as a symbol of a bigger institutional response to the scandal. The creator in question had millions of members and a vast digital user base. Charles experienced a spectacular fall from fame as a result of these losses, which served as a signal that the industry was no longer ready to ignore severe ethical violations in the name of popularity or profits. When industry giants like Morphe and YouTube cut ties, is there any safe space left for a fallen influencer to rebuild from? More allegations have been brought to light. Charles admitted that he was responsible for some of the previous allegations, but he categorically denied others, particularly those that accused him of grooming individuals. Even though he had committed unacceptable errors, he asserted that many of them were being exaggerated or portrayed inaccurately. Even though he denied many of the more severe allegations, additional people came forward with experiences that were quite similar to his own. An attempt at a comeback and the reaction of the public. In the year 2023, James Charles made a daring attempt to recapture the spotlight by launching his own independent makeup company called Painted. At the same time that it was being marketed as a creative rebirth and an expression of his unending love for artwork, the brand was positioned as a personal and professional reset. Charles portrayed the business endeavor as a representation of his maturation, demonstrating that he had grown as a result of his previous errors and was prepared to retake his position in the beauty industry on his terms. The response of the public to the comeback, on the other hand, was extremely split. While there was a portion of his following that enthusiastically welcomed him back, eager to concentrate on his talent and innovation, there were also a great number of others who responded with suspicion, if not straightforward criticism. On several social media platforms, users questioned whether Charles had carried out the necessary steps to regain the faith of the general public. The development of a brand without addressing the more fundamental ethical challenges appeared to them to be more of a strategic move than a redemptive one. It was brought to the attention of critics that Charles had not yet directly engaged with the full magnitude of the charges in a manner that showed transparency and accountability. His public apologies were regularly criticized for being excessively controlled, lacking in substance, and intended more to save his image than to address the hurt that was caused. As a consequence of this, Painted's debut was accompanied by lingering uncertainties over his objectives and the question of whether or not he had utilized his time away from the spotlight to actively reflect or simply to reinvent himself. Charles's return raised uncomfortable questions about how quickly society forgives, what true redemption looks like, and whether creators with a history of controversy can ever fully regain the trust of the communities they once inspired. Is Painted just a business venture or a calculated bet that public memory fades faster than it forgives? Ongoing struggles and the perceptions of the general public. Concerning the incident involving James Charles, there is still ongoing discussion. On the one hand, there are those who believe that he ought to be given the chance to develop, acquire knowledge, and make up for his past actions. On the other hand, many people believe that he has not yet been forced to face the full repercussions of his conduct, which is especially true when one considers the gravity of the claims that were initially made. This ongoing dispute is reflective of bigger conversations taking place within the culture of the internet regarding cancel culture, accountability, and the duties that influencers have for their viewers, particularly when their fan bases include minors. At what point does reflection become redemption, and who gets to decide when enough is enough? In conclusion, there is no denying that James Charles's situation has deteriorated over time, not only as a result of the initial claims, but also as a consequence of how he has dealt with the consequences. His attempts to apologize and move on have not been successful in satisfying a significant number of critics, and the residual mistrust continues to shadow every step of his attempt to make a return. It remains to be seen if Charles will be able to effectively recover his career, or whether it will continue to serve as a cautionary story when it comes to fame and accountability in the digital era. One abundantly obvious thing is that the public's demand for genuine reform, accountability, and openness is more robust than it has ever been. Will James Charles's legacy be one of scandal or redemption, or is his story a reflection of a larger shift in how we hold public figures accountable? Tell me in comments section below.